Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. You are joined by Ashwin Berry and Glenora Shipura. How are you, Glenn?
I'm doing very well. What happened to Nawa?
Nawa.
Okay.
Hey,
well,
I wasn't sure, but like, hey.
You should have said Bararanawa, yes.
Bararanawa.
So what Nawa means, did you wake up well?
Bararanawa.
Oh, look at you, look at you. Let's take a look at what you can expect in today's broadcast. Death sentences for 38 over 2021 lynching of Algeria fires volunteer. Nigeria struggles to contain worst diphtheria outbreak, and US ends aid to Gabon after concluding coup took place. Do stick around for these stories and more news on Africa Good Morning.
Welcome to What's Cooking, where culinary passion meets expert insights.
Somebody must really want to cook and want to cook good food.
Immerse yourself in the bustling world of professional kitchens as top chefs create mouthwatering dishes. Join us for in-depth interviews as our host explores the experiences and expertise of our guest chefs. Don't miss out. Tune in to What's Cooking on NTV every Friday at 2100 hours and let the culinary adventure begin.
Getting into the top stories on Africa Good Morning, 38 people were sentenced to death in Algeria on Monday for their role in the 2021 killing of Jamel bin Smail. Now, he had been falsely accused of starting deadly forest fires in the northeastern Kabylie region, when in fact he had volunteered to fight them. As the Defense Committee for the late Jamel bin Smail, we believe that the verdict is just. The court questioned the defendants sufficiently to ensure a fair and just verdict for all, said Fakha Eddin Berana, a member of bin Smail's Defense Committee. Now, bin Smail himself had handed himself in after hearing he was suspected of arson at the height of the blazes, which killed at least 90 people. But a mob surrounded the police van, beating him before dragging him out and setting him on fire, with some even taking selfies next to his body. His gruesome murder set off a wave of revulsion across the country. After the images went viral, often shared with the hashtag Justice for Jamel bin Smail, the people who took the selfies tried to cover their tracks. But internet users across the country compiled videos and took screenshots to ensure the crime did not go unpunished.
Swinging over to West Africa, Nigeria struggles to contain worst diphtheria outbreak. Nigeria is battling to contain the outbreak, which has killed around 800 people and infected 14,000. It has spread to almost half of the country's 36 states, with Kano accounting for the bulk of the cases and deaths. The clinic at Murtala Mohammed Specialist Hospital is one of the two health facilities run by the French medical charity MSF in Kano, the epicenter of the epidemic. As of Thursday, Kano has reported 10,700 diphtheria cases with more than 500 fatalities. Hashim Juma Omar, a doctor overseeing MSF diphtheria intervention in Kano, told AFP. Entry to the 90-bed clinic is strictly controlled to prevent the spread of the infection. We are currently seeing more than 700 people with suspected diphtheria and admitting more than 280 patients on a weekly basis in the two diphtheria treatment centers, said Omar. Nigeria's Center for Disease Control declared an outbreak of diphtheria in January after cases began to surface in May last year.
Now, the U.S. has suspended most of its financial assistance in Gabon in response to a military takeover from 2 months ago. The U.S. State Department said it had formally established that a coup took place in the West African country, which under U.S. law requires an end to non-humanitarian aid. Humanitarian, health and educational assistance in Gabon will continue, a statement from the department said. We will resume our assistance alongside concrete actions by the transitional government towards establishing democratic rule, the statement added. Last month, the U.S. said it paused some foreign assistance programs that were benefiting the Gabonese military government.
Nigeria's Supreme Court on Monday began hearing an appeal by an opposition candidate to quash court decision upholding President Bola Tinubu's victory in the February elections. After months of deliberation, a court in September rejected applications by Atiku Abubakar of the People's Democratic Party and Peter Obi of the Labour Party to annul Tinubu's victory over alleged fraud and irregularities. The two men had come second and third respectively in the vote. Abubakar then filed an appeal saying the judiciary had committed a serious error in its judgment. The 7 Supreme Court judges are expected to rule in the coming weeks on this latest challenge. It has the final say in presidential elections petitions. Nearly 25 million Nigerians voted in the February polls in an election that was generally calm but was marked by delays in counting and failures in the electronic transfer of results.
Now, several people were hospitalized in Austria after using suspected fake versions of the diabetes drug Ozempic, the country's health safety body said, the first report of harm to users in a widening European hunt for counterfeiters. Now, the patients were reported to have suffered hypoglycemia and seizures, serious side effects that indicate the product contained insulin instead of Ozempic's active ingredient semaglutide. Now, the health safety regulator BSG said this in a warning issued on Monday. Regional regulator, the European Medicines Agency, last week warned about pre-filled injection pens falsely labeled as Ozempic, which has seen surging demand for its weight loss benefits. The marker of the drug, Novo Nordisk, has flagged a surge in online offers of fake versions of Ozempic, as well as its weight loss drug Wegovy, both based on semaglutide. Those have been our top stories on Africa Good Morning. After the break, we focus on the beauty of our continent with tourism.
Neopaints has established a 67-year Namibian legacy, creating personalized paint solutions that blend quality and innovation for the Namibian people. We pride ourselves in being a 100% Namibian-owned company, investing in our country and our people by employing and empowering true Namibians. With every brushstroke, Neopaints commits to our quality guarantee and always delivering a coat of excellence. At Neopaints, we always stay true to our country. We are as Namibian as you.
Welcome to My.NA Cars, your ultimate destination for everything automotive.
I am your host, Diana Master.
Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Discover the latest models, innovative technologies, and expert insights from our passionate hosts. Learn essential maintenance tips and get exclusive behind-the-scenes access to the automotive industry. Don't miss My.NA Cars on NTV every Thursday at 2100 hours. Tune in and ignite your passion for automobiles.
All right, so I had promised some tourism, and we won't be talking about tourism, but here's what you could do. You could just visit the countries around Africa, become a tourist yourself, appreciate the home that you come from. Okay, so actually what we will be doing is crossing over to Ari Hochad in South Africa, who has the latest news on the ground, starting with the national and provincial election in 2024. Ari.
Yeah, goeiemorgen. Hi, nice to talk to everyone. It's a nice morning in Cape Town. And yes, it's elections coming up in South Africa next year. Happened in 2014. It happened also, of course, in 2019. 2024 is the year. So the theme has been announced. That's by the Electoral Commission. And the theme this year will be Your Democracy, Own It. So that is what the message they're sending across to everybody that's eligible to vote. But apparently it is also more aimed for the younger people of the country, which was a challenge in the past. The voting percentage 5 years ago was 66% in South Africa, so not too high. So they're hoping it will be a higher number. Also very important for South Africa is there's, it seems indications definitely there's going to be no outright majority for the elections, and that puts pressure on the whole system. Lots of coalitions in South Africa Last year, for the 2019, it was the ANC that won with 57% support. It dropped from 62 the previous time in 2014. The DA, Democratic Alliance, also dropped from 22% to 20% in 2019, and the EFF, they grew from 6% to 10%. So it will be interesting to see what happens. There's going to be 23,296 voting stations across South Africa next year. The date not yet set. President Ramaphosa must announce that. It's going to be set between May and August sometime next year. So we'll see when that date is for South Africans to vote. A very important time for South Africa every 5 years.
Indeed.
Well, now moving on to your next story. The gold mine strikes continue in Springs as more focus is put on the challenges facing gold mines in South Africa. Can you get into this?
Yes, it's been a long struggle lately for the last quite a few years between unions and the mines, or the management of the mines. Obviously a very lucrative industry, lots of billions of rand that's coming from the mining industry and from gold. It was the net profits was about 5.5 billion in South Africa. It fell from 10 billion, so it's quite a lot of money. But it's at the moment there's a standoff at the one gold mine, they call it Gold One, that's in Springs in Modderfontein. So it's 543 miners that's stuck underground, and they said that it is the rival unions that's responsible for that. Some say that it's a sitting down underground. Some say that they kept up hostage. So it's a very tough situation at the moment. There's a court interdict by the mine that the people should get from the bottom up again, but the unions are adamant. Of course, we saw it in the past. Banya, Stillwater, a few years ago, 2 years ago, it was wage related. And also Marikana, and they agreed for 6.3% increase over 3 years. So we'll see what happens there, but it is a standoff at the moment, unfortunately, and people stuck underground.
All right. Now, South Africa experienced almost a week of no load shedding, and of course, according to the information you provided us prior to this broadcast, it should come back next week, Wednesday, which I guess makes sense. And I'm actually starting to feel like your third and fourth stories are connected. Was the no load shedding connected to the Rugby World Cup? Because it's giving that vibe about it.
Yes, I hope they have the eye on the ball on that one at least. It seems like it's going to come back this week though, and it's for stage 1 and stage 2. So what happens is there's no load shedding basically during the day, but it starts at 4 or 5 p.m. and going to the next morning at 5. So hopefully they will know that the kickoff is at 9 on Saturday evening and just be gracious on all the rugby supporters. It's a big moment for South Africa. But the reality is it's still under pressure. It's coal-driven, of course, and many of those power stations need maintenance. But the big talking point is what's happening also at Melkbosstrand. That is a nuclear power station there at Blouberg, and Unit 1 is still down. It was need to go up in November, so it's a possibility that both could be down. But apparently they won't put the second one off if the first one is not fixed yet. So hopefully that will be in order. Solar power also making progress in South Africa, but that's a small component. Very coal-driven, very expensive. Almost, it's lots of billions of rand that's costing South Africa in coal. It's about 39% of the production cost is just for coal. So hopefully they will fix it, but it's a long-term process.
Well, it's a good thing that you can watch the Springboks with no load shedding.
Yeah, I mean, we hope.
We do hope,
that's
yeah,
a
fingers
necessity.
crossed. I mean, getting into your next story, South Africa is preparing a massive support for the Springboks in the World Rugby Finals.
It's an exciting week. Unfortunately, lots of noise around us, as well as it's well documented about the accusations against Bongi and Mnandi. And we'll see how World Rugby handles that. And South Africans and Namibians, strong people, and sometimes all the noise around you make you stronger and pull you together. It's not perfect, but it's not what you need in the finals week. It's a big week for South Africa, at least obviously defending the title that South Africa won in 2019. It's always a moment like we saw when the women's soccer team won the AFCON It's a highlight for South Africa. We drew strength from that, and that is what we hope for. Again, it's against the old foes, against New Zealand. It won't be easy, a difficult game, but it's going to be Saturday evening, so the whole country will be behind them. And there's also a cricket World Cup going on behind as well, where South Africa is doing well. But hopefully the Springboks can do well. So we'll be shouting for them on Saturday evening if there's electricity to watch it. But I'm sure there will be.
Oh, no. We can't afford to go all black on Saturday night. We can't afford that at all. But yes, Springboks have 3 World Cup wins. New Zealand has 3 World Cup wins. Whoever wins this World Cup has the most World Cup wins. But something that was refreshing was it seemed like the Springbok fans were happy that it was New Zealand in the final and vice versa. Because it's one thing to lose, but it's another thing to lose to an opponent you respect. But of course, as far as the box score, we're looking at a big W. Thank you, Ari, for bringing us the news stories from South Africa.
Yes, it's a big pleasure, and I agree. We don't want a blackout. We need some green energy for Saturday. Hopefully that will go well.
I like what you did there. Let's head to the weather. Now heading into economic news, Nigeria on Monday hailed a landmark victory after it won its bid to overturn an $11 billion damages bill for a collapsed gas project in a case a judge at London's High Court said exemplified the ravages of greed and corruption. Africa's most populous country had previously been ordered to pay the sum, representing around a third of its foreign exchange reserves, to process an industrial development, a company based in the British Virgin Islands.
Kenya's currency hit an all-time low of 150 shillings to the dollar on Monday, worsening the economic situation in the heavily indebted East African country plagued by inflation, according to central bank data. The depreciation of the Kenyan shilling has accelerated over the past year, losing almost 24% of its value against the dollar. According to the Central Bank of Kenya, a dollar was settling at 150 shillings on Monday, while some commercial banks and bureau de change had already reached this price or even higher in recent weeks.
All right, let's head into the economic indicators just before Ari Hochart returns with the sport.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, and starting off with Rugby World Cup 2023 in Paris. Semi-finals done, and it's the finals week coming up. Lots of rugby been played the past month or so, and it is going to be South Africa that play against All Blacks. That's in the final after both of them won over the weekend in their semi-finals. News from both teams are that there's no injury concerns on either side. It seems like both of them can select from a full squad of fit players. Also leading up to Saturday's final, it seems like the weather might be good, and the long-term weather prediction at the moment seems like there will be some rain during the day, but come evening when the game is played, it will be good weather for rugby with no rain predicted at the moment for the final. And then also related to refereeing, it is indicated, or it is speculation, that it might be Wayne Barnes of England that will be the referee for the final. It must still be confirmed by World Rugby, but that is the speculation at the moment. Another option would be Michael Real from France. But Wayne Barnes is 44 years old. He's the most experienced referee in the tournament. He's had a good tournament as well. So there's a good chance that he might be the referee for the final between the Springboks and New Zealand. Moving on to cricket news, it's a World Cup cricket that continues, and a good win for India against New Zealand over the weekend. They're the only unbeaten team in the tournament at the moment. New Zealand and India, they're leading on the points table with 10 points and 8 points respectively after 5 games. South Africa, they're in third position with 6 points after 4 games. Australia, number 4 position at the moment. The top 4 important. The top 4 go through to the semi-finals, but lots of cricket still to be played. Australia has got an important game coming up this Saturday. They play against New Zealand, and it is South Africa that play on Tuesday. They play against Bangladesh. Then they play on Friday against Pakistan, and next week, Wednesday, South Africa play against New Zealand. Also a big game over the weekend. It is India that play against England, and England that lost 3 of their 4 games. They need to win against India to be able to go and qualify for the top 4 in this tournament for the semi-finals. Continuing international sports news with tennis news, it was the Japan Open that was played on the ATP Men's Tour, and the winner there is Ben Shelton of the USA. That's his first ATP Tour title in his career. He beat Aslan Karatsev of Russia in the final by 7-5 and 6-1. The 21-year-old Shelton will now move up to number 15 in the world rankings. The number 1 and 2 seeds in the tournament fell out early. It was number 1 seed Taylor Fritz and also Casper Ruud of Norway that didn't get past the quarter-finals. And closing off today's international sports news with golf news, and it's on the Ladies PGA first. It is the BMW Ladies Championship that was played in South Korea. The winner there is Min-Ye Lee. She's from Australia, and she won in a playoff against Alison Lee, and she is from the United States. In second place was Lydia Ko of New Zealand. A little bit further down, in tied for 16th, was the world number 1, Nelly Korda, on 9 under par, and then Ashley Buhai of South Africa, the highest placed African player, on tied 13 on 10 under par. On the men's PGA, there was a co-sanctioned tournament played in Japan. The US PGA played there, and it was won by an American. It's Colin Morikawa. He won on a total of 14 under par, and that was 6 shots ahead of his countryman Bo Hosler on -8. That's international sports news for today. Hope you have a great sport day, and we talk international sport again tomorrow. Goodbye.
Let's get into the highlights from this morning's broadcast. Death sentences for 38 over 2021 lynching of Algerian fire volunteer. Nigeria struggles to contain worst diphtheria outbreak. Nigeria wins bid to overturn $11 billion in damages for collapsed gas deal. And of course, we're looking forward to the Springboks, or as Glenora knows them, the Springboks.
Okay, you've corrected me now. I've learned the right terminology. I'm just a supporter, guys.
All right, love it.
Well, with that, we've come to the end of our show. Thank you for joining us on this lovely Wednesday morning. From me, Glenora Shipura.
And me, Ashwin Berry, Suraj Zahanaka.